Hey, Todd here in the studio, getting set up for a shoot I've got coming up, and I'm going to be working with some booms and flying some lights over some people. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to give you a little tip, a little instruction, tutorial on how I use a boom, the safe way to put a head on, take a head off. I've seen these things fall over, which isn't good to see gear hit the ground, and just safety, you want to make sure this doesn't fall on the talent or whatever. So I'm going to just show you the correct way I use these things just to be on the safe side. And so let's get to that. All right, so we're starting to set up now. Got the boom right here and my beauty dish, which is going to be my key light for this shoot that we're setting up. So we're just going to put this head on this boom right now, and I'll show you how I do that to make it as safe as possible and as easy as possible. But the first thing I do when it's just kind of pre-setting up here, I just spin this guy out and loosen this and let the weight slide forward a bit like that. So I've got most of the weight kind of equalized or to the center of the post here. And then I get the head, the weight over one of the legs on the back of the stand, so it's got nice weight and it's not going to want to go anywhere. And you need to make sure you've got a sandbag on your stand here that's holding the boom too as well. Even a couple of them if you can. I've got one that's always just kind of lives on this stand, never goes anywhere else, so I always know I've got a sandbag there. And then just want to make sure that the mount is pointing down on the boom where you're going to mount all your head, just so it's pointing straight down. It's just easier to get the head up in there and tightened on there. It's easier that way. So then, and then on here where you tighten this down, there's a little lip that you have on this. So when I screw the head on here, I just make sure you're into above this lip, and I've actually drilled some holes into this one just so I know I get a better connection and it's locked in there really good. So I drilled those a long time ago, and it's makes for a better safety, so I know this thing isn't going to fall. But the main thing is once you get ready to put the head on, I always put my arm over the top of the boom. That way I know there's no way it's going anywhere. And then I grab the head and mount it up on here, tighten it down, make sure, and I kind of jiggle mine just to make sure it's going into one of those holes that I've got drilled in there. You don't have to drill the holes, it's just something I did a long time ago. And they don't go all the way through, they're just little indentations that I know this screw is going to go into. And then there's a little clip up here which you can use gaffer tape as well, just a clip hold the cable for the head, and I give myself a little bit of jog here, a little bit of extra cable up here, so when I tip the head any way I'm going, I know I've got enough cable there to go. And then without letting go of the boom, I always just walk it back and then loop the cable over this last top handle here. So now that I've got the head on there, and I haven't let go of the boom yet because we don't want anything to happen. Right now the weight is primarily forward, but I know I'm going to want to get this thing up in the air now. And so I tip it up and I can feel that a lot of the weight is still that way, and you don't want to let go of this thing. So I get it up there and I know, okay, that's pretty good, but I can slide the main boom arm back a bit, which was kind of a quick jump there. So now the weight is a lot more equal, but still it's a little bit heavy on the front for me. And I'm going to move this just a little bit and get it over the top of another leg again, so I know that back way. And I have a couple extra little sandbags right here that I throw over the top of this thing just to equal out this weight. And that should be pretty good right there to where it's pretty balanced. Okay, it's a little heavy on the back side, so I can just move this up a little bit. And there we're pretty well balanced now. I mean, it's a little heavy. I could probably get rid of that guy. Yeah, so that's pretty good right there. Then you just want to make sure you're tight here on your adjustment up and down, and your slider one, make sure they're nice and tight. And then you can always add weight more back here, or another big heavy weight like this if you need to boom out further. So the further you go out, the more weight you're going to need back here, because the weight's going to get out there. And the more you slide the boom back this way, the less weight you're going to need here. But if you can, always keep this weight over the top of this leg. That's kind of my rule of thumb. And then once I've got it all tight and I can do that adjustment, then I can, you know, start messing around with how high I want it. You know, do I want it to go up higher this way, or do I lift it up this way, or whatever. You know, I got all these adjustments now I can do, which is what a boom is really great for. You can move it around, and there's no stands close to the person. So these things are really great to work with, especially if you've got a big box on this thing and you're lighting over the top of a product maybe or something. These booms are really, really useful for that. But you want to always just make sure everything's nice and tight. I've seen, like I said before, I've seen these things go down and wreck some heads, and it's not a pretty sight. So the main thing though, once you've got this all set and you want to change this out really quick, you just tip it down again. Make sure you tip it down far enough to get it over your arm. And once I get it down, under your arm I mean, then you get it back here, and again you just take your arm and put it over the top. It's like the whole tip right there. It's just making sure you've got your arm over this. That way this thing is never going to fall backwards or forwards, because you're still hanging on to it. And then I just can take the head off again, loosen it up, drop it down. And again, I never take my hand off the boom until I've got it all taken apart. Grab back here, loosen this up, drop it back down, and you're good to go. And then you can just lower this thing. It's kind of how I have it stay, where it's just kind of about like that. And then you're all locked in, and that's just super safe to do it that way. So the main key is put that thing up in your armpit, the boom going out. That way there's no way it's going to flip backwards if you take this head off and forget to adjust it, or there's no one else helping you do that thing. It's just a good safety quick tip, and then you're good to go. And another quick tip while we're here is, if we're going to use, say we don't have a boom with us and we're on location, and I've got a C-stand and a grip arm I'm going to use to kind of boom out the light on here. You want to, if you're going to use these grip arms, when you tighten this knuckle down, you want to make sure you're tightening the same way the boom is out here and could possibly go down. So if you're tightening this thing, you want to tighten it here and then maybe give it a little bit of a pull down, and that locks it, tightens it up even more. And that's what I would do before I put on a head out here. Put this guy on, tighten it down. So I've got the same beauty dish on here. So I would have that, and then I would make sure this would have a sandbag on it as well. But you want to make sure that you've got your longest leg, tallest leg, facing the direction of the head, like that. And then you've got this tightened down the same way as the head. So this pulls down, it's self-tightening, because if you did it the other way and this head started to go, and then I still bring these little sandbags with me and put them out here just to equal out the weight. And then I would put a sandbag on the stand here as well. I'm not going to let go of this right now because I don't have a sandbag. Well, I can because of the leg right here. That's really helping stabilize this whole thing. But again, it's kind of the same principle, but you do want to make sure you're having this knuckle go this way. As a quick little example here, if I take this off of here, and I spun this around the other way, well, I got it good and tight, like that. If this thing, take this off, and this thing was going through the opposite way, like this, and then I was tightening this thing down the other way like this way, If you can see that, if I'm tightening it down this way, and then I pull on this, it just goes super loose. So you always want to have this tightening the way that you're going to have the weight on the head. So if I'm going to have everything out here, I'm going to tighten it that way, push it down, it locks down, and that's good and locked, and that's not going to go anywhere. So that's just always another smart little tip, is you want to have this tighten the same way that the weight is going to be on. If you have it on this end and you push down, it just loosens right up and the whole thing could fall down. So that was another, quick little tip to go along with today, and have the longest leg out where your weight is on the stand. And sandbags. Sandbags are always a good thing. Well, that's the tips. That's it for today. Any questions, comments, leave them below. I'll get to them. Thanks for watching as always, and till next time, I'm out.
Bye.